I would advise folks to think beyond just the piloting of a drone. Think about what the application of the data that's generated from drones are, be able to deliver a more complete life cycle in terms of that customer experience. And ultimately, customers will react to things that just work on their behalf.
You're listening to the Drone Radio Show podcast, the show about drones and the people who use them for business, fun, and research. Hosted by Randy Goers.
Hello, everyone. This is Randy Goers, and welcome to the Drone Radio Show podcast, episode 122. Is there value in delivering complete end-to-end aerial solutions? Well, today's guest certainly thinks so. George Mathew is the chairman of the board and CEO of Kespry, the leading aerial intelligence platform for delivering a complete end-to-end app-driven experience to the industrial market. At Kespry, George focuses on leading the company's mission to transform how people and businesses capture, use, and get value from worksite intelligence. George has more than 20 years' experience developing high-growth technology startups. He holds a Bachelor of Science in neurobiology from Cornell University and a Master's in Business Administration from Duke University. George is here to talk about Kespry, its products and services, and to discuss how its full-service approach to delivering worksite intelligence is leading the way. Let's pick up the interview where I asked George to introduce himself.
I'm George Mathew. I am CEO and chairman of Kespry. So Kespry is an aerial intelligence platform that takes data that uniquely is generated from a Kespry drone that we manufacture in the US and turns that into complete data products, analytic pipelines, and applications for key industrial use cases in the construction, energy, insurance, and aggregates mining sector.
George, when you say you have a complete solution, what do you mean by that?
When we look at a complete solution in the market, we really focus on an end-to-end use case where in the construction arena, we're really focused on creating an application that focuses on earthworks and being able to do full topological analysis and modeling for a construction team to conduct all the leveling and grading properly that is literally accurate within 3 centimeters of real space because the drone's able to generate that topology in a very accurate way and support that with a whole set of analytical models that are available in a cloud infrastructure. In a similar fashion, a complete solution in the insurance sector is about a drone being able to accomplish the claims process in a more seamless way by supporting either the independent adjuster or the P&C carrier for them to be able to fly the drone directly on top of a roof, measure the dimensionality of the roof, understand the pitch, the volumetrics associated with it, and even distinguish what hail damage looks like directly on a roof, package that up as an application and a series of reports that are generated for downstream consumption. In a similar manner, we do that for the mining aggregate space, where we would do the entire inventory management and the volumetric stockpile measurement so that you can create a full end-to-end complete experience for how much material that you might have on a mine site. So that's what we frame as a complete solution in the market. We're not just providing a commercial drone. We're providing a full life cycle of application functionality for business users.
That last point is important to highlight, I think, because most businesses don't have the interest in purchasing a drone and investing the time in training their workforce. So having an option that gets them the results they want as simply as possible is really critical.
That's exactly right. And so when we think about Kespry, we happen to manufacture drones here in the United States, but it's not just for the purpose of general purpose flying for any commercial use case. It's for the purpose of an autonomous flight, collecting data that's necessary on key assets around the key use cases that I mentioned, and having a complete life cycle of an application experience that supports the drone flying.
So do companies need to contract with a service company, or are they running the systems themselves? I guess I'm asking, who are the actual users of the Kespry products?
That's the beauty of the Kespry solution, because we provide an autonomous drone into the market, the claims adjuster and the insurance use case, the site operator for a mining location, the construction worker in a work site are the users and the consumers of Kespry product. There's no separate pilot and nor a separate service that's required to be able to enable and fly Kespry in these key industrial use cases.
I know it's an autonomous system, but exactly how easy is it to fly?
In the case of Kespry, there's no joystick, right? It is a iPad-based application that enables you to create the right geofence and the target asset that you want to fly over. You set the flight height and you press the start button, and the drone autonomously takes off and does the workload needed to collect the data around that asset. And so in that case, you still need to ensure that the adjuster themselves has passed Part 107 certification for FAA piloting of drones in U.S. airspace. But once they've passed the base certification, they don't have to manually fly a drone to be able to collect key data on the objective and asset they're understanding. Kespry is automating that entire experience so that then the data pipeline is automated so that the applications that are downstream for the user are fully filled with the data analytics that are necessary to make the right decisions. So we're fully automating that experience end to end. So literally the claims adjuster, the construction worker, the mine site operator can actually do the work needed to get the insights that they want for the applications that serve those.
As you mentioned, Kespry primarily serves 3 industries. Why were those 3 industries targeted?
Think about the key strategy around the industrial use cases that we're focused in today. It invariably starts around creating a 3-dimensional model for most of these specific use cases. So in the case of the mining aggregates customer, we're literally creating a dimensionalized model of what the volumetrics around a stockpile of material is. In the case of the insurance use case, we're creating the volumetric model of what a roof is. In the case of a construction worker and the earthworks projects that surround them, we're creating a topological analysis of what the ground is that needs to be leveled and graded. And in all of those use cases, starting with that topological analysis and 3-dimensional model that supports the analytics that are necessary, is where Kespry has commonality in the key industrial use cases that we're in. Then we start to layer application-specific functionality. In the case of the mining aggregate space, we start to create measurement and planning tools that support inventory and mine planning. In the case of the insurance sector, we're creating hail detection algorithms to identify what hail damage looks like directly on the roof model. And certainly in the architecture, engineering, construction arena, it's about getting the topological analysis right, where we can be hyper accurate within 3 centimeters of real space because we're fusing precision GPS with the imagery that creates the 3-dimensional model. So in all of these cases, starting with that fully realized 3-dimensional model is where Kespry has created a whole new series of data products that support the use cases that we deliver into those key industrial markets.
So what's the key benefit to the user in using the Kespry drone versus what they're doing today?
When you think about what they're doing today, when you're digging material out of the ground, a lot of the key challenges that you end up having lots of issues in terms of the accuracy of the inventory of material that you have. And if you're putting it through a belt measure and you're grinding that material down, you might get a level of accuracy that's further. But sometimes you just want to know how much material you have on a specific set of stockpiles that you've aggregated. And in this case, when you start to do that in the traditional tools that you're using, whether that be precision laser guided survey equipment or GPS-based backpacks, you still only take 20, 30 points of measurements on a stockpile, and then you're creating a full volumetric assessment. Oftentimes, those models are as much as 20, 30% off in terms of variance of actual material on a per stockpile basis. The Kespry drone flying overhead and creating a very accurate synthetic model is literally down to 1 to 2% variance. So you're really starting to rethink how inventory management is done in the world of aggregates with a solution like Kespry. It's also one of the reasons why we went from 5 customers to over 120 customers in the mining aggregate space in under a year, because it's really solved for this particular need very acutely with a much more accurate solution than the status quo.
For aggregates, are the users primarily in the mining industry, or are other businesses starting to use it as well?
Yeah, great question. So it has been in the mining industry to date. We're starting to see some expansion there into other mining opportunities like coal and tar sand and other materials that have a higher level of value beyond sort of base commodities. We've looked at other stockpile of materials like lawn products. We've looked at paper pulp. And so far, we see most of the value still being in some of these mining use cases where there's commodities or even more higher level valuable material that's being dug out of the ground that you really need to understand how much material you have. And in those cases, Kespry has been the most beneficial in the mining space. There's other opportunities for sure, but we've been very focused in our use cases.
So for a local community in the snowbelt that might be concerned with whether they have enough salt piled away, it sounds like the Kespry system would help them know exactly where they're at any given moment.
It would actually, and I think the only nuance there is if those salt piles are stored indoors, we don't fly Kespry drones indoors. But yes, if that material is fully visible from an outdoor standpoint, we would actually be able to give you a very accurate assessment of how much material, in this case salt, that you have.
Kespry also has formed strategic alliances in the roof inspection and construction industries. Can you talk about those partnerships, maybe starting with what Kespry has been able to do with Farmers Insurance?
In the case of Farmers, it turns out that Farmers is now one of our larger customers in the insurance roofing space. They were working with the Kespry solution to understand whether those adjusters that are on the ground working on hail damage and similar claims adjustments could viably benefit from the Kespry solution being part of the workflow of how they would accomplish the inspection and adjudication of a claim. And it turned out that the productivity of the folks that were working at Farmers was pretty significantly increased by the use of the Kespry drone. And so we were just delighted to have Farmers announce that they are now a customer that's scaling out Kespry across their claims department. In the case of the construction arena, it turns out that the use of the Kespry drone is very viable for accurate topological analysis when it comes to earthworks projects. And the earthworks projects that are being delivered are, of course, using equipment like John Deere. So John Deere was very excited to work in regards to a reselling relationship with Kespry, where now Kespry drones are being sold across John Deere's 400 dealer distributor locations in North America, mainly because there is a very complementary solution where the GPS coordinates that are being generated from the Kespry drone can be used on the earthworks site to understand what the level and grading on that earthworks location is. So John Deere saw a very complementary solution to what John Deere's equipment looks like in market already. And so they're now reselling Kespry drones alongside of the heavy equipment that they sell into market through their dealer distributors.
I think it's interesting that Kespry formulated a different strategy or an approach for each of the three industries to get the products out into the marketplace.
We were thinking through a few areas where we can directly serve customers. And I think in the mining aggregate space, you're seeing Kespry directly serve that market with a solution that has been very much viable for the key use cases that I mentioned earlier. In the case of the insurance space, we know that it's not just the property and casualty insurance folks, but it's also the independent adjusters, the roofers that are significantly and positively impacted with the use of the Kespry solution. So we think that there's a very interrelated set of markets to go after there. And in the construction arena, we knew that it would be hard for us to go at the construction space alone. And we knew that having an incredible partner like John Deere help us scale that out and basically become a channel for Kespry was going to be the best way forward to scale that industry. And in many of the cases, thinking about the industry we're going after, understanding and having key relationships with the players in that industry, and then formulating a go-to-market strategy that might be direct, channel, or some mix of the two, is where Kespry's been very deliberate in how we've gone to each one of these industries.
I was going to ask how accurate your roof inspections were, but I just read an article where Haag Engineering certified the accuracy of the Kespry platform.
That's right. Yeah, we just announced that this morning that we've been working with the Hague engineering team to certify the accuracy of our models and the comparison to the existing process for roof inspection. So what you can see with that study that Hague validated is that the Kespry drone is as accurate and perhaps even significantly more accurate than the current process. So we're just delighted to be able to support a lot of the roofers and independent adjusters with data that gives them the confidence that the use of the Kespry drone is a viable solution in the market that they're serving.
What does having that certification mean for Kespry?
I think when we look at the market today, I think people want to know that there is a legitimate working solution that can be very much 10x, 100x better than the status quo, right? And before you get to those points of like being 10x better than the status quo, you just got to know that it works as well as the current way that a specific set of, in this case, roof measurements work in the roofing industry. And that's where Kespry wanted to create a positive baseline to say, hey, our solution is going to be very complementary and support the way that the roofing industry works today. And so we think that it's a great watershed moment because we think that having that validation in place gives people that are independent adjusters, roofers, and the P&C carriers confidence that the measurements that are created out of the Kespry drone are going to be enabling and useful for the use cases that they're serving the market with today. And so once that validation in place, we definitely see a network effect occurring, right? We see the opportunity for more roofs to be measured with Kespry, more roofs to be built using Kespry. And as long as we can service those customers in a meaningful way, we think that this is a great opportunity for the market to continue to expand in our favor.
That's really important because many times following a major storm where there's a lot of damage, people wonder if they're getting the right information on damage assessments. So having a solution that people feel confident about, especially on both sides of the situation, is really advantageous.
That's right. I mean, transparency using data and analytics is where we think that there is just a great market opportunity, and we just want to be supportive of, when a claim needs to be processed in that market, how do you provide the right data and transparency for both sides, right? The person who is adjudicating the claim and the person who is filing the claim. And if you have data that's viably shared between both sides, it's much easier to come to a natural conclusion on how to best serve that customer and their needs in their greatest time of need.
Now let's talk more about the company's background and your involvement. First, what were you doing before you joined Kespry?
By way of the company's background itself, Kespry was founded in 2013. We started to build our first commercial go-to-market and get the product into market in 2015. I got involved with Kespry and talking to the Kespry board in 2016 when I was the president and COO of Alteryx. Alteryx is now a publicly traded company at the New York Stock Exchange that focuses on horizontal data analytics for Excel-based data workers that want to be able to more naturally prep, blend, cleanse, and model data. And so I've got a background in working with data and analytics products for quite a few years. And I've had a thesis in mind that the next generation of opportunity in the space is to be able to create vertically oriented applications. And I got really excited when I got to know a bit of where Kespry's history was, its focus and direction of having complete solutions, because as you can tell here, these are complete vertically oriented applications where the drone happens to be generating a whole new form of data. And that's where the experience of my past and the opportunity that's going into the future aligned incredibly well to come on board and join as the CEO and chairman of the company. And so it's been 9 months that I've been, very focused on Kespry, and it has been an enormously rewarding and delightful experience to be able to be part of this company's growth story.
What are you most proud of achieving or putting in place over the last 9 months?
Well, I think you've heard a few of those things. I think when we look at the partnerships that we've had more recently, where the Kespry solution is now being resold by John Deere, the fact that Farmers is a customer of ours, the fact that the Hague engineering team validated our solution for dimensional analysis on a roof. These start to give you the ecosystem and the validation in the market. At the same time, we've been building a great product. We've launched the second generation of our cloud that services multiple industries. We've started to expand the sales organization and the leadership team. And in that regard, it's all focused on really delivering a world-class experience to our customers as we continue to grow the company and the product. And so the last 9 months have been absolutely fantastic to be able to hit on those goals and be able to scale the company from when I initially joined.
What are the key hurdles that you're still working on?
So I think there's still a fair number of use cases that we're focused in where people are just getting used to the product being better than the status quo, significantly better than the status quo. So there's education to do in the market. There's certainly a regulatory framework that opened up as of August of 2016, where Part 107 became the regulatory law of the land. And now we have a framework to be able to commercially fly in U.S. airspace, but we still have challenges because we know that the waiver process for flying outside of Class G airspace literally is a manual process that takes 90 days. That impacts our customers today. And so we're literally working through both the challenge of the status quo and knowing that there's a better solution in market using a Kespry drone. And we're also, seeing the natural effects of now that the regulation is net positive to drones flying in commercial airspace, but there's still some manual intervention that's required, particularly when it comes to specific types of airspace. Those are things that we are still working through as sort of friction in the overall model. The good news is that we have tremendous tailwinds that are supporting our growth and scale, and we're just continuing to work and serve our customers as best as we can as we build a great company along the way.
I've seen a photo of you and the president in the White House with some CEOs of other drone companies. What's your sense of the federal government's interest in support of the drone industry? Did you walk away feeling that Washington sees the industry as a major economic sector, or are they still trying to figure out where drones fit into the overall economy?
I think they're somewhere in between. I think they look at the drone and the capabilities surrounding 5G and the capabilities surrounding IoT as a broader framework for how industrial work can continue to evolve and scale. Drones are an essential piece of that. We happen to cover 3 key areas when we were visiting the White House and the administration in that regard. The first area, no surprise, was just around automating the current regulatory framework that I mentioned around Part 107 and the waiver process. The second piece of it was highlighting where we can deconflict the airspace and the use of UTMS, unmanned traffic management systems, to support just knowing where all the drones are in commercial airspace. And the third was just really understanding a framework for safety and security so that the good actors are always benefiting from the fact that they are, appropriately known and registered in the airspace, while there might be bad actors that don't properly register that information. And so having a strong support of an administration that cares about the advancement of drones as emerging and enabling technology is wonderful. And we had a chance to spend time at the White House with the president and the rest of the administration, talking through where the current opportunities are in the space and how the next 5 years evolve. And so it was a great moment to be there. It was the first drone that was ever inside the White House, and it was an opportunity to talk to the president and the rest of the administration. And we're looking forward to, follow-up discussions when the time is right.
Was that your first opportunity to go to Washington and represent your company and the drone industry in that way?
Yeah, so I've certainly been to Washington. I've spent time with previous administrations on other technology advancements, but certainly for the drone industry and to be at the White House and spend time with the president, that was definitely a first and unique opportunity for me. So yeah, it was exciting and to be able to participate there. And it was good to see that there was individuals in the administration that wanted to push and enable the use of technology that was built in the United States to forward the agenda for how the future of work emerged. And drones has happened to be one key essential part of the future of industrial work. So in that regard, we were just happy to be there and provide our guidance and our thoughts on how the industry needed to continue to proceed forward.
You mentioned the Kespry drones are manufactured in the United States.
We're sourcing material globally for sure. There is material that's coming from here in the US, from South Africa, from Asia, but then when the components are built and pulled together, it's actually integrated here in the US. So the manufacturing process itself is right here in Menlo Park.
I think that's a significant point because as this industry grows, it'll be important for the United States to have manufacturers that are part of that growth.
Well, I think this is where there's a real opportunity when you think about the new face of manufacturing in the United States. This is where we can provide leadership and innovation. And certainly drones are a key topic that we know that the airspace is going to be filled with all kinds of drones, whether that be aerial intelligence focused drones like ours, whether that be delivery drones that are being provided by others. And so for the U.S. to have leadership in this emerging space, it's important. And we just happen to be one of those companies that is pushing forward and scaling our business. And we just had an opportunity to be able to talk to the administration about what we were up to.
Now, the company's success in the mining, insurance, and construction industries is sure to draw attention from other companies. How do you keep things moving forward and stay ahead of the competition?
I mean, there's no surprise where Kespry's formula is, right? We're focused on three things. One is the autonomy on the drone. The other is to be able to create an analytical pipeline that introduces artificial intelligence and machine learning to support the business users solving exact needs for these use cases that I mentioned. And the third is to provide viable applications for that end user interface to be very much seamless for that experience to be complete. So that's where we're going to be focused, right? If we think about our evolution over time, focusing on those three areas enables us to build a great customer experience. Customers being delighted creates a great company that continues to scale. And so for the foreseeable future, as long as we're focused there, we know that we'll be doing the right things to build an amazing company. And as others look at the space and look at the opportunity, we're just going to be very much open and focused in terms of serving our customers well across those three capability sets that Kespry's delivering to largely just get great industrial applications in the hands of business users. And maybe others might try to copy that idea, who knows? But for now, we think of ourselves as fairly unique and focused in that regard.
What advice would you give to other CEOs who are trying to deal with the dynamic nature of the industry at this time?
I highlighted a few things a moment ago, Randy, where I believe that the more you target and deliver a complete solution for your customers, the more likely you'll succeed, right? So I would advise folks that are in this space to think beyond just the piloting of a drone. Think about what the application of the data that's generated from drones are, be able to deliver a more complete life cycle in terms of that customer experience. And ultimately, customers will react to things that just work on their behalf. So my advice is to create a more seamless, integrated experience. And as long as you're doing that for many of these use cases that are untapped, and Kespry's not going to be able to cover all the use cases across all the industries where drones can be very applicable, I think you can build some amazing businesses from it. And so we just happen to be focused on these key industrial use cases, and there's plenty of others to build great companies around. So I think that this market is opening up very positively for innovation and growth. And anyone who's an entrepreneur, I would just suggest focus on your customer and delivering what they need in the market, and you'll have a great company that you can build from that point on.
This sounds good, George. Is there anything that we missed that we should talk about?
No, I think we covered a lot of the ground in terms of where the market is and where Kespry continues to evolve. As an aerial intelligence platform that serves these key industrial use cases, I think we have a focus and attention that is about getting the right capabilities in the hands of our customers. And the more we dig into these industrial markets, you're going to see Kespry deliver full lifecycle applications in that regard. And that's where we are. So looking forward to continuing the dialogue in the not too distant future, and just reach out if you need anything else from us.
That's it for episode 122 of the Drone Radio Show. I hope you enjoyed hearing from George Mathew of Kespry. I want to thank George for taking the time to speak with me and sharing his expertise. If you want to learn more about Kespry or want to connect with George, check out the website at Kespry.com. That's Kespry.com. If you like the Drone Radio Show, please consider supporting the podcast with a small donation. The content is always free, but for as little as $1 per month, you can help defray the costs of production. To donate, go to patreon.com/Drone Radio Show. And thanks for listening. Your support means a lot to me, and I hope you'll listen to more episodes of the Drone Radio Show podcast to hear how others are using drones for business, fun, and research. For the Drone Radio Show, I'm Randy Goers.
This has been the Drone Radio Show podcast. More information on today's show can be found on our website at www.droneradioshow.com. If you're using drone technology for business, fun, or research and would like to share your experience on the show, please visit our website and fill out a guest appearance application. And don't forget to follow us on your favorite social media channels.